I couldn't resist. I had so much fun doing the Giallo tier video part 1 that it's time for part 2 right now. Here we go. I have 26 more Gialli that I have seen, and I'm just gonna rank them. There. Intro complete. First, we have The Night Evelyn Came Out of the Grave. I was really excited about this one, but I kind of found it to be lackluster. It was a little disappointing. Next, we have Amuck, starring Barbara Boucher and Rosa Narelby or something like that. I found it lackluster. I couldn't really tell you why at this point. I remember not really liking the story. Although Barbara Boucher looked beautiful in this movie. That makes me want to place it a little higher. I don't know. It needs another rewatch, but I'd say right now it's lackluster. Next, we have The Case of the Bloody Iris, starring Edwige Fenech. That's my pronunciation anyway. That's a top favorite. I remember the first time I watched it, that was one of the first Gialli that like really did it for me, where I was like, this is it. Next is Don't Torture a Duckling. I've said this several times before, but it's not really my favorite of Fulci's works, and it's not really my favorite Giallo. And maybe part of it is because it's not your typical Giallo. It's rural and it's sad. I'm torn between, I'm going to say Solid Installment. Next, we have Death Walks on High Heels. That is a favorite. Top favorite right there. That is a banger. I love this director. I love Nieves Navarro. This is just a great flick. Next, we have Who Saw Her Die? Which I didn't like. Lackluster. Sorry. Next, we have My Dear Killer. This is starring George Hilton. I thought it was a solid installment. It wasn't the most dazzling Giallo, but it was like a good contribution. Uh-oh. Next, we have Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key. A Sergio Martino film starring Anita Strindberg and Edwige Fenech and that Luigi guy. Okay, when I first watched this was one of the very first Gialli I ever watched, and I was a little disturbed. I was a little traumatized. I was not loving it. And I would say, at that time, I would say I regret watching. But I know it's an important film. Martino is one of my favorite directors, and it's starring two of my favorite actors. It's hard. I don't know where to place this. It's an important movie. It didn't suck. Like, it wasn't bad at what it did. I'm just going to say regret watching. But I'll probably watch it again, and my opinion might change. Next, we have Smile Before Death, which is not very dark. There's not much killing going on. It felt very light, but it was also kind of like creepy and gross. It wasn't that good, okay? But the soundtrack, you may have heard me harp on this before. The soundtrack is amazing. It's horrible. I've even got my husband singing it now. It's so bad. I'm gonna link the score down below. It's like a 5-minute video of what that soundtrack sounds like. Just go listen to it, okay? That's why the movie's memorable, but I'm gonna call it a lackluster film. Next, What Have You Done to Solange? One of my top favorites. I love that. I love the girls. I love a group of girls. I love like all girl school kind of vibe. I love like teenage girl. That sounds gross. But you know, I love coming of age kind of movies. So this mixed a little bit of that with terrible murders. And I won't go on. I don't want to give stuff away if you haven't seen it. Who hasn't seen that yet? Go watch that. Next we have Eye in the Labyrinth, which I just remember so fondly because I remember really liking it more than I even thought I would. Like, I just like this. But it's weird because there wasn't like an actor that I really loved or the setting that I really loved. It was more of just the movie as a whole was really enjoyable. So I hear other good things from other people about this movie. So I say it's fair to put it in worth the hype. Next we have All the Colors of the Dark. That is a top favorite. It's growing on me more and more the more times I watch it. Next, The Tropic of Cancer. A weird Giallo, but so good. I don't know what it was, but that's a top favorite. So sweet, so dead. Man, I waited way too long to watch this one because it is a top favorite. Next is 7 Blood-Stained Orchids. It definitely has the potential to be on my favorites list. I thought it was really, really good. But I think for now I'm going to put it under worth the hype. Next we have Crimes of the Black Cat. Notable for having a... Oh, it has... What's that guy's name? It has a guy in it. And he plays a blind character. And it's... I don't know. It's got a nice, like, story. An Argento-esque story, as people have said. And it's got some pretty interesting kills. So I liked watching that a lot. I'm going to call it a solid installment. Next is The Red Queen Kills 7 Times. A favorite. That's a good one. Actually, I just reached my 1-year anniversary since I first watched that movie. The Cat in Heat. It wasn't, again, like it wasn't the most striking movie, but I thought it was a really like classic kind of Giallo. So I'm going to call The Cat in Heat a solid installment. Next is Death Carries a Cane. Admittedly, it was not as good as I wanted it to be, but it was still good. Again, another solid installment. Just a great cast. The cane is a great murder tool or murder accessory. Next is Torso. Girl, that's going on the top favorites. That shit is awesome. Next, 7 Deaths in the Cat's Eye. I'm going to say... I think I'm going to say flop. I might have spoken a little more highly of it in the past, but at this moment, I'm feeling like it's floppy. I don't want to watch that again. Okay, next is Death Smiles on a Murderer. One of the very first Jolly I saw, and it's starring my homegirl, who I love very much. This was kind of a gothic experience, and it got really kind of weird. I struggle to call it a solid installment in the genre because it's not one of those signature style Jolly. I think I'm gonna call it lackluster. I do so regrettably. I do it with love. Love you. The Perfume of the Lady in Black, which I have mixed feelings about. Okay. I'm gonna suck it up, and I'm gonna say worth the hype. Anyway, worth the hype. 5 Women for the Killer, which I always reiterate, the killing of the pregnant women. Killing of the pregnant women, Giallo, was awesome. I thought it was great. Solid installment. Next we have Spasmo. A top favorite. This was a good haul. Look at all these favorites. I'm sure most of you, if you are Giallo fans, you've probably already seen most of these, but if you haven't, get on it. And finally, we're going to wrap things up with Puzzle, which is, I have to remind myself, it's the Amnesia one, which was good. It was a good, like, well-rounded, like, that is a Giallo, you know what I mean? So I'm going to put it under solid installment. And there we go. go. That is our ranking. That's the lineup. That's how everyone did today. Let me know how you might tweak it yourself. Hope you had fun. And we have another one coming. We have another one coming soon because there are like 30 or 35 more Jolly that I have seen that we haven't ranked yet. So until the next time, ciao.